We all know that the internet has a light side and a dark side. And I don't mean the whole surface web, dark web thing. On the internet that we use every day, there are infinite resources for virtually every possible topic that people use for help. Whether it's cooking, building things, schooling, even medical help and therapy. Conversely, there is all the content on the internet that is of no help to anyone. I don't think I need to list any. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But what about a place that purports to be a helpful community, but actually harms those who utilize it, spinning them around faster and faster in the vicious circle they've become trapped in? A dangerous echo chamber that perpetuates the delusions of those who seek help from it. While there are certainly very likely many of these, there's one in particular I want to talk about today. Join me as I investigate the curious, dangerous world of gangstalking. Gangstalking, also known as community stalking or group stalking, is defined as the stalking of an individual by two or more people. That's it. By context, you could have pieced that together had I asked you. But the concept of gangstalking runs much, much deeper. Or all the way to the top, depending on how you look at it. There have undoubtedly been many instances of this boiled-down definition of gangstalking. To hear that a person was stalked by 2 or 3 or 4 or even more people, while scary, it wouldn't necessarily shock you or linger in your mind. That's not to make light of such occurrences. Stalking in any form is terrible and an awful thing to have happen. But the term gangstalking has evolved to mean much, much more than that. Supposed victims of gangstalking allege that they are being terrorized by everything from groups organized by vengeful exes to employers to government organizations to even aliens. They claim to be the subjects of vast conspiracies, at the center of which is simply them, the individual. Those claiming to be victims of gangstalking, whom in the parlance of the community are referred to as targeted individuals or TIs, attribute the reason for the harassment to be the organized effort to instill in them mental instability with the perpetrators, or instigators as they are often referred, desiring to sabotage, extort, and oftentimes even drive the TI to suicide. Now, hearing that someone is claimed to be stalked by a group of extraterrestrials almost certainly conjures up an image of a person in your mind. Perhaps fitting the description of the archetypal quote-unquote crazy person. Homeless, dirty, ranting on and on about conspiracies and this and that. But that's not the case at all. Sure, some people who claim to be victims of gangstalking might fit this description, but they are far from the only ones. Doctors, teachers, lawyers, blue-collar and white-collar workers alike, people who by all accounts at least appear to be well-adjusted in nearly every other aspect of their lives, have claimed to be the target of some group that has, for one reason or another, taken an interest in them, and launched a diligent campaign to disrupt their lives. I first learned about gangstalking when browsing through an Ask Reddit post entitled, "What was one of the most mysterious posts found on Reddit?" in which a user cited a post on the legal advice subreddit with a man claiming that every time he stepped outside, his neighbor would honk a horn. And I'm sorry to say that I did look for the original post, but I was unable to track it down. A commenter claiming to be a police officer replied to OP's comment, saying that he had once seen detectives handle a case in which a woman was accusing people of stalking and harassing her through means of horn honking and prank calls. She said the horn honking incidents had followed her to 4 different cities, but that in one instance, the one occurring in the city in which this police officer worked, they had actually discovered that she was indeed being called numerous times at night by neighbors. 2 women in their 60s. Other users pointed out that various aspects of what this supposed police officer was saying were suspicious, and personally I agree with them. For that to be true, it would suggest that someone had followed this woman after she moved 3 times to 3 brand new cities, The logistics of that alone are cause for doubt. A quick search on YouTube brought up countless results for people posting quote-unquote evidence of their being gang-stalked. I've scoured through these videos, and what I have concluded is the fact that these people are looking for patterns where there aren't truly any, and are fitting certain traits into an imaginary set of criteria that, to them, is incontrovertible proof of their ongoing harassment. The comment sections on these videos do little to help. For every one comment explaining that the actions being depicted likely have rational explanations, there are 10 that come from people claiming to be experiencing the same thing, bolstering the poster's resolve as to the validity of their imagined ordeal. And that is just the toned-down version of the main arc of this video. The gang-stalking community of Reddit. r/gangstalking is a subreddit dedicated to the topic from which it derives its name. It purports to be a resource for those afflicted, a bastion of hope and like-mindedness for people being inexplicably followed and harassed and targeted. But even a cursory look at r/gangstalking reveals what truly happens there. Post after post of users posting what they believe to be happening to them, with comment after comment encouraging the delusions of the poster. It's an echo chamber of paranoid people as they point out their perceived harassment, ranging everywhere from a neighbor having a security camera pointed at their home, all the way to reptilian conspiracies at the hands of QAnon. Now, I would admittedly take issue if my neighbor had a security camera pointed at my home. That's nothing too outrageous. But all of these posts invariably escalate dangerously quickly to vast organizational campaigns. Scrolling through r/gangstalking makes me feel incredibly bad for these people. They are very clearly paranoid and they very clearly need help. But where the gangstalking subreddit looks on the outside to be a place for one person dealing with an issue to talk to another dealing with the same in order to eliminate the problem, the typical, rational avenue one seeks for help is regularly, universally denounced. This comment, for example, tells a user who wrote a diatribe accusing recovery houses of being an integral part of a conspiracy that also includes MKUltra, the New World Order, the Nazi regime, and more, that they should actively avoid therapy. Some psychologists and counselors are just sadists, pure and simple. In fact, most humans are sadists. Don't put too much faith or trust in anybody, really. Even if you pay them a lot for that privilege of trust, those are the ones you should trust the least. I've scoured this subreddit. I've read through more heartbreaking, infuriating posts than I can count, and the number of comments that simply encourage the behavior and perpetuate the delusions of posters versus the number of comments that direct the poster towards resources that could actually be of some legitimate help it's maddening. The behaviors going on in the gangstalking subreddit go beyond the act of the TIs actually being stalked. It has become a haven for conspiracy theorists to relay their quote-unquote findings, which in turn makes the subreddit a place for those who believe themselves to be targeted individuals to espouse the ideas, which only takes them further down their paranoid rabbit hole. Cops hate you. They really are just looking for an excuse to hurt you. This includes the private citizens who get to participate in government programs. Let's look at the Threat Liaison Officer, or TLO, also called a Terrorism Liaison Officer. They should have just been interagency representatives to help coordinate stuff. Instead, they have become tools of harassment, or what we call gang stalkers. Interestingly, the definition of who can be one varies from state to state, even county to county. In some states, it is only police officers, firefighters, and emergency services, or paramedics, who are allowed to be TLOs like in Minnesota. I understand police officers, but why firefighters and paramedics? The two latter are, oddly enough, the ones who will take you to the psych ward. The police, firefighters, medical personnel, the FBI, the CIA, the Postal Service, Homeland Security, all facets of the government, up to and including the President of the United States, are implicated by the TIs as being the ones responsible for their misery. And in case OP sees this, police can and do take people to mental health facilities. I know from experience. And the delusions go beyond the physical, or at least perceived physical components of people, planes, cars, helicopters, etc., being used to surveil a TI. A common escalation sees these people claim to experience auditory hallucinations like voices in their heads and having chips implanted in their bodies, like this post. Any idea on how to deal with chip implants? With the OP claiming that, I had the first one implanted during my second week of boot camp when they removed my right wisdom tooth. My second was after I got out of the Marines at the Kansas City VA when I was having an EMG done there. That one was put above the top of my spinal cord, possibly my brainstem. These ideas are given credibility by fringe doctors who claim to have discovered the secrets behind mind control and the conspiracy of the government using it to monitor people through many means, including V2K, which is voice-to-skull communications, which directly ties into auditory hallucinations and voices no one else can hear, which in the minds of these people only serves to reaffirm that they are not crazy, but that there is a rational explanation for what they're hearing, or rational to them at least.
Hello.
Hello.
How many implants do you think the average person has?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that.
How many implants the average person has? Not somebody who works in the Secret Service or whatever.
Yeah, implants.
Because I had mine taken out.
Yeah.
But,
Did that help you?
Well, now you just can do it on galactic connection, and they do it spiritual. And most people, they've got an implant in the third eye.
Okay, I can understand it as a spiritual experience, but once your brain has been mapped out, you're kind of in the system. You have unique resonance signature, body and brain. The head, for example, resonates in most adults around 80 hertz, and the human body around 450 megahertz. 80 hertz, did I say that? 80 megahertz. But you have a unique signature, everything from your fingerprint to your unique brain patterns. So maybe once you've been implanted, you're in the system, you can be tracked anyway, and taking the chips out won't really do any good.
It should be mentioned that V2K, or the more clinical term of the microwave auditory effect, is a concept explored by the wider scientific community. It refers to a phenomenon in which a person hears clicks materializing in their head with no external source, with the common understanding being that it happens as a result of thermoelastic expansions of the auditory apparatus. But conspiracy theorists have claimed it to be stealth attacks being undertaken with sonic weapons, causing changes in the brains of those affected. after an incident known as Havana Syndrome, in which several United States diplomats fell ill in Cuba after complaining of hearing buzzing and grinding noises, was attributed to the microwave auditory effect. A University of Pennsylvania study revealed that individuals subjected to the effect showed changes in the white matter of their brains, similar to a mild traumatic brain injury, or, more simply put, concussions. Fearing that this could be a legitimate means of attack, the U.S. State Department has come to regard the microwave auditory effect as a credible threat an enemy could utilize. But to bring us back around to gang stalking and the Reddit community dedicated to it, I would ask one question. Why you? In the grand scheme of things, these people are not famous. They are not noteworthy individuals, no more than I am. What reason would the Central Intelligence Agency, the SS, or reptilian overlords have to organize targeted campaigns of fear and misinformation against them? Why would Russia and China use V2K chips to control the minds of some guy who works part-time at a gas station? This leads me to believe that perhaps these people, these, as I said, oftentimes otherwise well-rounded people, have latched onto this delusion as a means of being a part of something bigger than themselves. I understand the desire to belong. It's a desire shared by many, many people. But these people have grasped onto the straws of a scenario that 99.9999999% of the time simply cannot be true. A common statement in Reddit's gangstalking community is that the TIs believe that their friends and loved ones have been drafted into the conspiracy, made an agent of their destruction. Sadly, all this tells me is that people who get swept up in the illusion of gangstalking have pushed away all the people closest to them. The gangstalking community ushers the exits of their friends and families by encouraging its members to hold firm in their beliefs. It is an insidious beast that hurts more than it helps, if it has ever helped at all. I would suggest that the gangstalking subreddit needs to be taken down, but then I wonder, does the number of people that wouldn't end up in the echo chamber justify the almost 16,000 people for whom the subreddit's deletion would only serve to, quote-unquote, confirm their delusions? I don't know what the answer is. I just hope that these people eventually get the help they need, and that they get it before the ultimate professed goal of their perps comes to pass. Because even if the groups following these people aren't real, their pain and fear most definitely is. So, as an aside, I've always said that if I were famous, I would use my platform to benefit the lessening of the stigmatization of mental health issues. I myself am severely bipolar, and the topic is one that is pretty near and dear to me. That said, I think it's somewhat fortuitous that mental health and horror are so closely related. For anyone who has or knows someone with a mental illness, you no doubt know that it can be an absolutely horrifying thing to experience or witness. Something I don't like is when a scary movie or story uses mental illness as the direct cause for the horror, like, this person has schizophrenia and you should be afraid of them because of it. What I do like is when a movie or story uses mental health as the foundation from which the horror derives, using something analogous as the mouthpiece. A perfect example of that is the 2016 film Lights Out. And my biggest pet peeve is when movies and TV shows portray mental health facilities as being these, all-white prisons with straitjackets and padded rooms. That is not what they're like at all. I can tell you from experience that is not what they are like. Mental health facilities literally saved my life, and if I wouldn't have gone to one, not only would I not be alive and doing this right now, I wouldn't have met Kimmy, and that would suck. But, anyways, I don't know, my point is, don't stigmatize mental illness. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's something that we all deal with in one way or the other, and we should never discourage anyone from seeking help. If you do need help, if you are struggling with something and you don't know where to turn, come to me, message me. I will provide you with whatever resources I possibly can to get you the help you need. Never be ashamed to ask for help. Anyways, thank you to all of you who watch this, and please check out my other videos. They aren't all on mental health. Most of the content on my channel is just straight up horror. I will be back with more videos soon. If you like this one, please like and comment, and if you're not subscribed, please do, because if you're a burgeoning YouTuber, that's what you're supposed to ask. Alright everybody, I love you. Take care. See you soon.